Hello, I'm Denise Hill. I love sharing stories of my experiences with celebrities, politicians, some of your favorite musicians and artists, but most importantly, I love sharing the stories of everyday people. Their lives serve as opportunities to inspire, empower, and educate. It is my honor to share the stories of those who fought the fight against breast cancer and won. The So Alive Project is all about sharing the stories of survivors and caregivers. Whether you are in the fight, a survivor yourself, supporting someone who is in the fight, or just want to be informed, my hope is that this story will bless you. Please make sure you subscribe to this page or set your notifications on all social media so you don't miss one. I am at The Denise Hill. One of these stories just might change your life. I'm Denise Hill, and this is the So Alive Project. I'm here with Shavon Cooke. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fabulous. I appreciate you so much for your time with us to talk about your experience and help inspire and encourage and definitely educate a lot of folks. And your experience as a breast cancer survivor is really important to talk about because you were diagnosed so young.
Yes, that is true. Yes. I was diagnosed at age 37.
So can we back up and start from the beginning? How did you discover that you had breast cancer?
Well, I'm from Virginia, and I was in Virginia for a while and got a job offer in New York. And to be honest, I felt a lump in my breast, but I ignored it for several months because I didn't want to believe that it was cancer. It didn't run in my family. And, my mom would say like, oh, your sister had cysts before in her breast and had to get them removed. So I kind of ignored it until it just kept growing. I kept feeling the lump get bigger and bigger. And one day I moved to New York by myself to pursue my career and my dream in working in television production. So I also was like, oh, I can't be sick at this moment. My career is like going great and I'm in New York by myself. My family's in Virginia. But one day I just said, call a place where you can go and just get it checked out in New York. And it was in November of 2017 where I found a lady online and I went to her office. She did a program, I'm so sorry I forgot her name, where she helped women that have breast cancer and they don't really have insurance. And so I went to her, and immediately when she felt my breast, she was like, you have to go downstairs right now. I'm taking you downstairs right now. You need to get a biopsy, which she usually never does. And she walked me downstairs, and I remember the biopsy, everything was just blurry, and the biopsy was a little bit painful, but I still was thinking like, no, it probably is a cyst, it's a cyst. And then a couple weeks later, she said, come in the office, and my mom and my aunt came to New York, and it was right before Thanksgiving, and she was like, yeah, it's breast cancer. I'm sorry to say HER2 positive, and it's at it was almost at stage 4 at that point because I ignored it for so long.
Now, what's so long? I know you said that you were moving, you were progressing in your career, but from the time when you initially felt it and to the time you finally got it biopsied, how long was that?
It was probably 6 months, and I beat myself up about it because when I first felt the lump, it was really small. It was much smaller. And I was so irresponsible, and I don't even know what I was thinking. And by the time 6 months later came, it was huge, maybe the size of like a golf ball, or no, not even a golf ball, maybe as big. It almost got as big as like an orange or an apple at that point.
That's and like having a third breast.
It is, yes, it is. But I double D's, like huge, but if I had a smaller cup, it would definitely have been visible. Yes.
Wow. Well, yeah. I mean, no need to beat yourself up because your experience is helping to motivate and inspire somebody else to not sit around and wait, not to kind of put it off or place something else as a priority. Your health is all you have. So, don't beat yourself up about it. It's important that you share that piece because somebody else is thinking, check it out next week.
Yes, thank you so much for saying that. And I feel like if you feel something small in your breast, go immediately. The sooner you know, the better it is. I probably wouldn't have had to go through so much if 6 months prior to, I would have went straight to the doctor. But I waited so long that I had to go through so much to try to, get it removed.
Can we talk about that so much? What was the treatment like?
So, first, because it took so big at that point that they wanted to do chemotherapy first because they wanted to shrink it. Usually they say you go in and you have the surgery and they'll, take it out or whatever, and then chemo is after. But they gave me chemo first for it to shrink and then for me to have a mastectomy. But going through chemo, that was really hard for me because I still was in New York. I still was like, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to tell, the people I work with, the higher ups that should know because I'm going to the doctor. But I didn't want to give up on my career because of it. So when I had to do chemo, it's like all of my hair came out, which was so hard for me. My eyelashes, my eyebrows. It was summertime. I don't wear a lot of makeup. Didn't wear wigs back then, so I didn't know what to do. So I was my confidence had went down so bad. I was lost, and I couldn't eat. The chemo made me not eat. It made me very fatigued. I would just cry myself to sleep every night. I just didn't know what to think or what was going to be next. The only thought in my head was like, I might die, because when you hear cancer, you think of death. And so I was just like mentally unstable, and I still was trying to push through my career and, still try to be strong going through it. And it just woke me up to a lot of things, like the foods I was eating and, the lifestyle I was living, and, it just opened my eyes up to a lot of things going through that.
I understand fully. I was never diagnosed with breast cancer, but I left the Washington, D.C. area to pursue a career in New York City. And being the only one there, family was still here, so you're up there by yourself. I was a single mom up there by myself. And so,
oh, wow.
You get a mindset of, I made this choice. I got to succeed. I'm not going to give up on my dreams. Nothing is going to stop me. People have probably told you, you shouldn't do it. Don't even bother to try. Just get a job down here. And no, this is my choice. This is my dream. This is my passion. I'm going to do it. So you put yourself, just more of that mental health check, because we'll beat ourselves up. I made this choice to be here and I have to do it. So I understand that dark place because you're there by yourself. This is what I want to make sure they understand your story, why it's so powerful, because you're a young woman chasing her dream in a state with no family around and going through this by yourself, which means you're getting to the doctor's office by yourself. You're coming home and having to put the hair in a bag because it fell out by yourself. You're having to try to eat and be sick and everything by yourself. And that is, there's people who are in this situation who have family and friends around them and still fall into that dark place. It's so much more challenging to pull yourself out of that dark place when you're literally there by yourself. How did you do that?
Yes, it was really hard. I actually don't even know how I got through it. I think by opening up to maybe like my supervisor and her telling me that her mother had breast cancer and that she was praying for me. And when I spoke to people at work that I trust, they were just, helping me out. Like, I was really shocked how they were like, take these days off, with insurance, they were really there motivating me to get better. But it just still ended up being like really hard, where I just like, I want to be with family, but I also want to pursue this. So it was just like, I was lost. I was confused. I was young. It's like everybody else still living their day-to-day life. And I didn't want to, I'm hanging around young people. So I didn't want to be like, oh, by the way, I'm sick, and then just put a damper on everything. And then, I didn't know how to respond to it, how to communicate to people I talk to on a daily basis. I didn't know where to go from there. And it was really hard with the chemo because when the hair came out, and at first, oh my God, I had my oncologist, Dr. Klein, Paula Klein in New York. And they have this new treatment that they do for women. I'm so sorry, I can't think of the name, where it's like they put a cap on your head to freeze your hair follicles. And the cap that they put on your head goes to a negative 30 degrees, and ice comes on your head so you don't lose hair immediately.
Wow.
Because the chemotherapy pretty much just kills all your hair follicles, everything. So they offered this to me, and I was like, okay, I'll try it. So I would have to sit for 2 or 3 hours before my chemo treatment with this cap on my head that was a negative 30 degrees.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And then I would have to do the chemo for another 2 hours. So it would be like a 5 to 8 hour day with the chemo treatment. I forgot to say I did end up getting a port in my chest, but that's how they were able to get the medicine in my body, because they were saying that my veins would collapse with all the medicine and stuff over time. So I got a port inside me. So the cap that they put on my head that was negative 30 degrees, it did help me. It did help me keep some hair for at least the first 5 months of the, which helped my confidence. It helped me, be able to go to work, In that time, I played around with wigs, so it gave me a chance to kind of see how it would be wearing wigs. Like, you get used to wearing wigs because I never wore wigs before. So, I don't know. I was just a little bit of hair. Let me just start wearing wigs now. My mind was all over the place. I didn't even know what to expect, but I knew that I would have to wear wigs. And what shocked me is, like, I thought the hair would come out, like, in strands. And it kind of like just slid off of my head, like literally, like almost like a wig, pretty much. I thought it would just come out each day. I'd comb it, and then one day I just put my hand across my head, and a whole clump of my hair came out. The whole back of my head was just bald, and that took me in a dark place because I was just like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know what to do from there. But I just started buying wigs, started wearing the wigs, and just tried to stay positive the entire time.
Wow. I celebrate you because, like, with I'm almost seeing you, with everything as it popped up, you handled it. Okay, I got to get up, get back to work, and go to work, and then, get hit by the next treatment or the next side effect. And okay, that I'd have to deal with that. All right, now I got to get back up and go to work. So I salute you for your strength and your perseverance.
Well, thank you so much. Another thing that had worried me too is because at my age, 37, and it was the end of the year, so I was 38 before I knew it during the treatments, and then I don't have any children. So I never even thought of that before because I've been just chasing my dreams and working, and all these things to me at once, like, oh, if you're going to have children, if you want to have children, you need to go to fertility clinic, and you need to talk to somebody. You need to figure out, can you freeze your eggs? And, so I kind of was like, okay, let me go to a fertility clinic and see if they can do it. I've never even thought of this stuff before. I've never even, and it was like, you got to do it now. You only have a couple months where you start this treatment, and it kills all your cells. And I remember going to a fertility clinic, and the people were like really rude to me because it was a regular fertility clinic. So they didn't know that I was there because of breast cancer. So it was like this lady, and she was like, oh, it's expensive or something, she said to me, like to do fertility, kind of like I didn't have the money, just looking at me as an African-American woman. And it kind of like broke me down, like, wow, like she has no idea, like, why I'm here. I'm not here, just like she just was very rude to me. And it was like, you don't have the $20,000, and then, which I didn't have, but it was just something I wanted to see if I could exercise. And then after that, I was like, maybe insurance can help. But insurance doesn't really help when it comes to fertility stuff. When you're dealing with cancer, like, it's a lot you have to go through. So I had to just make the decision, like, you know what, you waited 6 months. You have to do it now. Like, we can't waste any more time. So I didn't do the fertility thing, which, it still haunts me till this day because, now I'm 40. I just turned 40 in July. And knowing that I can't have kids kind of like, put a damper on things. But I am just thankful to be alive.
Now, is that due to the treatment? Is that due to, is that a side effect that can be reversed in some?
So with my type of breast cancer, which I didn't say before, mine is HER2. It was HER2 positive, which is driven by regular hormones in the woman's body. So the hormones that we have that help reproductive system or whatever, that's what fuels my cancer. So they had to put me in early menopause to stop it from growing more or, so I think it had to do with the type of breast cancer I had, which was driven by my hormones and the type of medicine and the type of chemo, because we had a different type. The type that I was getting for the HER2 positive was affecting my reproductive system.
Gotcha. You've had no reoccurrence since, correct?
Okay, no. So I had to get a mastectomy. I decided to get both breasts removed, and I got both breasts removed, and I have expanders in. So I had expanders in. They were like, you can keep those in for like a year. We're going to continue another type of treatment after the chemo. And they put me on tamoxifen, which is a 5-year pill, which I only had started taking it for maybe 4 or 5 months. Then I started to get these severe pains in my back, like a year later, after doing the treatment or what chemo and everything. And the pain in my back was so bad where I couldn't get up out the bed. When I did, if I coughed too hard, my back would stiffen and I couldn't move and I would be bent over, and it was just so painful. It was so hard to it's hard to explain because I thought now I had the mastectomy, I did the chemo, I'm doing tamoxifen, I'm taking the pills, so everything's going to be good. But they want you to wait maybe, 3 months before they do another CAT scan and all that stuff. And in between time of that, with my back started hurting really bad, they end up, I hate to say it, I had a really bad oncologist in New York. And I feel like any woman that goes through this, you definitely need to look into multiple doctors. Just don't take the first doctor or the first doctor that you see as an oncologist. Do your research and look at the reviews, because I didn't. And the lady that was my oncologist in New York, she was very bubbly and outgoing, but she also was very carefree, oh, whatever, your back hurts, whatever, Shavon, you'll be fine, give you some pain pills or something. So she just kept ignoring the fact that I said my back was hurting, and, she just didn't pay attention to me. She acted like, I don't know if it's because I was there alone and my family wasn't at the appointments with me, but she kind of was ignoring everything. I was like, it has to be something wrong. I really need a CAT scan. And I hate, it was just so horrible being up there by myself. And I was like, I got to get to Virginia with my family because I'm an outgoing person. I have bubbly personality. So I would come in there smiling and I would play my music. And I, had one nurse that I really liked when I did my treatment. And one of the ladies told me that I'm like the boy that cries wolf. Because I kept telling her I had pain, but she didn't, I don't know, they didn't believe me. And I was like, I couldn't believe how insensitive she was to the situation. So I just begged her for a CAT scan. And she did the CAT scan. And when she did the CAT scan, she said, come in my office. And I went to the office and she said, the cancer had spread to my bone. That's why my back was hurting so bad. But she kind of ignored telling her how I was feeling and stuff. So it's so important to do reviews. After that, I saw the reviews and I was like, man, if I would have just been more aware of the type of doctor she was, the situation would have ended up better. So I ended up being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, which is
And this is after the mastectomy?
This is after the mastectomy, after the chemo. after taking the tamoxifen. This just happened like maybe in this year, at the beginning of the year.
Wow.
And they said it had went to my liver and it went to my bones and in my lungs. And so the doctor was like, when she told me everything, and I'm like, where did it spread to? And she didn't want to tell me. She's like, do you really want to know? And I'm like, yeah, I want to know.
What?
So I just made a conscious decision. Yes, she's. I couldn't believe it, and oh my gosh, I still can't believe it. Like how I don't know. I don't want to say it's because I was an African American woman, but maybe it's because of that. And I'm younger, and I was by myself. Again, it's always best to have family come with you to these appointments and ask questions as well. Because I think she felt like, oh, she's alone, whatever. I'll just talk to her any kind of way. I don't even know what she was thinking. It would be times she would call me and be joking and have someone else chart in front of her and
Wow.
joke
Yeah,
about
we'll
it.
talk about the lawsuit off the air.
Yes.
What?
Yes. Sorry about that.
What?
It's so much.
Wow.
I know. I can laugh at it now. But what I will say is that fast forward to right now, today. So when I found a doctor, my father found the Virginia Cancer Institution, and he said, you should come to Virginia. As soon as I got here, I had a wonderful doctor. She said I had HER2 positive and HER2 negative in me, in two different types of and that it had spread and it was in my bones and it's really bad. She's just predicting all this stuff. You need to do this, you need to do that, radiation, and she just had me do everything every day. And I was like, you know what, whatever she tells me to do, I'm going to research it and I'm going to show up to these appointments every day. When I got to Virginia, I just started doing radiation. I just started doing, I didn't have to do chemo. It was a different form of chemo, like Ibrance, which is a pill, which I was like, oh, that's such a blessing. I didn't have to do chemo again. So I ended up taking Ibrance and Lexol or something like that. And I tell you, these past couple months have been really, really rough for me because I didn't know what I was going to live. Because after the first time I was like, oh, that's it. Breast cancer in your breast, and that's it. I never even knew it could spread somewhere, and it would be everywhere. And I didn't have control over it. But this new doctor, today, I just went to my appointment after my CAT scan, and she told me that the tumors in my liver have shrunken, really small. Some of the tumors have disappeared.
Yes.
Which I cannot believe. And there's no cancer in my lungs, which she saw before. That's disappeared.
Yes.
And there's no cancer in my bones.
Well, all right. To God be the glory.
Yes. Yeah.
I celebrate with you, sis. I celebrate with you. It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's been hard, but I always kept the faith. I always stayed positive. I just always believe that, it could get better. But today, it's just such a miracle because it was in my bones and it was everywhere. And oh my gosh, and now for her to say it's not in my bones and it's not progressing, it's not growing, it's shrinking really small, and things have disappeared that was there before, and I don't need biopsies done anymore. Definitely was a good day to celebrate.
Yes. If you had women in front of you right now, survivors, caregivers, young women, old women, men who perhaps have been challenged by this, what advice, what encouragement, what would you give them?
Always, I would say, keep the faith. God has the last word. Be strong. Definitely have family around. I thought doing it on my own I thought I could do it on my own, but definitely keep family close by. Don't be afraid. Know that it will get better if you believe. And if you have a great doctor, just make sure you just listen to your doctor, take the medicine they tell you, and, don't hesitate to ask questions, and, don't wait too long. Once you feel that in your gut or you think something's wrong, definitely move forward with it. And the earlier you find out, the better. But I say just be strong, keep the faith, keep family around or good friends. And God has the last word, So, yeah.
That's huge. Family, good friends, and even your work family in New York were your family at that time. So,
Yes. Yes.
It's not always people who are related to you. You just need a support system.
A great support system, yes. And, definitely help, and then communicate and help other people if you can. And, I started, giving out gift baskets and, things to other chemo patients because I knew that made me feel better to help someone else out, when you're going through menopause, you might need a fan. Then we got to make these little baskets to give to people, and just don't be afraid to speak up and talk about it. Don't be embarrassed, because I was kind of embarrassed at first, and holding that stuff in just brought me into a darker place. And once I started to open up and communicate and try to help people, it just helped me get through it a lot better.
Well, I celebrate you. I thank you so much for your transparency and for sharing your story with us and sharing your journey with us. And I just believe that you're going to continue on this wonderful path of healing and wholeness. I also believe that all of that experience that you have in television production is still going to be useful, and you'll give birth in a different kind of way to something that'll help impact more lives and change the world.
Wow, thank you so much. And I appreciate you allowing me to speak on my experience, because I never really have told my story. And I'm hoping that this can, help other people realize, that there's light at the tunnel, Don't give up.
My hope is that this story has helped to educate you, empower you, and encourage you. We offer all the love and support we can for those who are in the darkest of moments, and we celebrate that we're so alive for those who have been victorious and survived the great challenge they call breast cancer. Most importantly, I honor the legacies of those who are at rest from the fight. I appreciate each and every person for their willingness to share their story, and I look forward to bringing you more. Make sure to follow me on social media. I am the Denise Hill. You stay blessed.